Well, we're not in France anymore. We are now back in Scotland, and that is now a good thing and a bad thing. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. First of all, before I get to my actual review, I just want to say that I know that the intro was changed for this episode. For whatever reason, I can't fucking change it. I don't know why. I tried to get the video from the Season 1 intro. It's not letting me use it. It's available on YouTube, but when I put it into the thing that I usually convert clips into so I can put it on my videos, it's not letting me do that. So that's why the intro hasn't changed, just so you guys know. I just wanted to say that because I know you guys are going to say, oh, the intro changed and it's not changed here. Well, I couldn't find it, but now let's get to the episode. Hey guys, camera for Outlander, Season 2, Episode 8, The Foxs Lair, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode, especially after last week's incredible episode. I mean, I knew two things going into this episode. One, I knew it was not going to be as good as last week's because last week's was just incredible and it'd be very hard to top that. Two, I knew this episode would feel different from the rest of the season because we were going back to Scotland, and I was really excited to see what was going to happen with that, with us going back to Scotland. But I will say that overall, I thought this was a pretty mixed episode. There were some things I really liked, and then there were some things I really did not like. And you guys probably know the things I really did not like in this episode. I didn't think this was a bad episode. I just thought out of all the other episodes, this felt really different from the rest of the season. And I feel like that was the point. But none of the French characters were in this episode. None of anything that we saw in France in this episode. The only thing going on is that we still have the same storyline going on. Now, from what it seemed like last week, that we were going to see those same characters. And I'm sure we are, but this episode, it just felt too abrupt of a transition for me. I'm sorry. I mean, the intro just... From the second the intro changed, I'm like, this just feels weird. I felt like I was watching a Season 1 episode. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just... Now, I'm used to the French landscape and that the show was transitioning into this, you know, France culture and everything, that I kind of wanted to see more of it. I wanted to see Jamie and Claire leave. We didn't get to see that. You know, in this episode, they're already in Scotland. But I did enjoy a lot of stuff in this episode. It was cool to see a lot of the same characters again. But let's just get into this episode. There is a lot to talk about. Not as much as usual, because I actually don't have a lot to say about this episode, but... let's just get into it. We see right away they've gone to the family home of Lallybroch, where Jenny, Ian, and their children now reside, you know, because now, of course, they have children. And Claire is telling the viewers all about how they've returned and that the daily routines have helped their battered souls, because we know how, you know, hurt Jamie and Claire are emotionally, you know, internally, externally. They're both going through a lot. And really, you can tell that them being in this familiar setting and being with Jamie's family, it's really healed them. And I did like seeing that. We see young Rabbi. If you don't remember Rabbi, he was the kid that we met in Season 1, which it was weird to have Rabbi and not Fergus again. It just felt weird. He digs up potatoes, comes to tell Claire that they're ready, and the family, including Fergus, who Fergus apparently is part of this family now, which I think is kind of cool, they gather around the table to admire. Now, it makes sense, obviously, why they took in Fergus, obviously because of that whole sob story he revealed to Claire last week. I mean, obviously, they had to take him in. They gather around the table to admire the magnificent crop that Claire's recommended that they plant, and instructs Mrs. Crook on how potatoes can be prepared. And Murtaugh and Ian then soon enter with the Daily Mail, including bills and letters from Jenny and Jamie's Aunt Jocasta. And Jenny's admiring some new books that have come in, when Jamie gasps in frustrated astonishment. It's a letter has arrived from his cousin Jared in France, congratulating Jamie on what is his, we soon find out, forged signature in support of King James as the divine right to the throne. So Jamie's obviously pretty pissed about this, because, you know, he didn't agree to this. He knows it was obviously forged, and Prince Charles has landed in Scotland, and all the names on that list has been published and distributed are now considered traitors to the crown, and obviously Jamie's name is on that list, so they have to make sure that Jamie's name gets off that list. And Claire and Jamie discuss what they can do now this letter has arrived. Claire suggests they just should move to Ireland, because obviously the king won't find him there, but Jamie tells her that they have the rest of the family to think about, because that's the reason they came back, was to look after the family and also to deal with, you know, everything that they went through. They can't move all the family and friends, and Claire reminds Jamie that his name on that list marks him a traitor, and they can't stay, as he will be hung if caught. And because we already know the pain that Jamie went through. She doesn't want to be hanged again in prison. You know, he was just in prison. Keep him. She doesn't want him to get hanged. Jamie says the only option is to stay, fight, and win, basically. Basically, now they have to create an army. They have to win. He also reminds her of all the ways that the future has been changed already because of Claire. Fight for the family and for Scotland. And basically that's what they have to do at this point. So Ian, Jamie, and Murtaugh are going over the list of men that can join the fight. Jamie asks Murtaugh to take the men and meet him and Claire in 2 weeks' time. Then they will all travel to Cree together to meet up with Prince Charles. He's going to go and meet with his grandfather, Lord Simon Fraser of Lotte, as Prince Charles requests to gather more men. So this piece of information lights the Fraser fire under Jenny's pot. She starts a discussion of the intelligence of this plan to request assistance from the Lord Lovett, and since there's no such tension and distrust and past interaction between their father and grandfather, Jenny reminds Jamie that anything with Lord Lovett comes with a price. Even after Jenny's protests, Jamie states that he and Claire will leave the following day to go petition Simon Fraser, to make sure that they petition him and get him on their own, because obviously now they need to create an army. So Jamie and Claire move to their bedroom. Jamie tells Claire that he hasn't been completely honest or forthcoming about his family. His father was acknowledged by his grandfather, but that his mother has been the kitchen maid. And Claire convinces Jamie that his parentage makes no difference to her. And I do like that. Nothing really, she's not really upset about this, that she understands and that they should just go to bed. I like that she's not really letting this get her. They've been through a lot. They went through a lot of fights. Right now, she kind of just wants to relax. And, she feels like she's in this nice, comforting setting. She doesn't feel like she's in France anymore. And Claire convinces Jamie that his parentage makes no difference to her, and Claire wakes him in the middle of the night. Jamie's gone from the bed, but she hears him muttering. Upon leaving the room, she sees him on the seat by the fire, wrapped in his plaid, speaking Gaelic to Jenny and Ian's baby. And it's really affecting scene, probably my favorite scene in this episode, because it's just, Jamie gets to take a second and pretends what would happen if he did have that child, if Faith was his daughter, if he did get to raise Faith. And it's kind of a sad scene just to see, and the look on Claire's face, it's a look of happiness, but it's also a look of melancholy, just knowing that this could have been them, and this is what their life could have been like. Jenny comes out, joins Claire, and tells her that Jamie couldn't sleep, and decided to take the baby for a bit so Jenny could get some sleep. Jenny and Claire have a sweet bonding moment as Jenny talks of the way you can speak to a baby that you can't any other, and again, Claire can't relate to that because she didn't get to have the baby. The baby, of course, was stillborn, she didn't really get to talk to the baby that way, and it really is true. I mean, a baby is just discovering things, and it's just the childlike wonder of a baby and them discovering things. It's just incredible to see. And the gang is parting ways. Goodbyes are being said. Fergus rides up in his donkey, saying that he will be going with Jamie. They all agree that even though fighting is no place for a boy of his age, his home is with Jamie and Claire. He's been deeply affected. They have been the ones that have been sympathetic towards him. He can't be in France anymore. It makes sense that they've taken in Fergus, and now he will be with them. And I like that Fergus is still there, because after what happened, I like that they are trying to help him out. And obviously, he's not letting, what Jack did to him go, but he is kind of moving on from it. So he's enough to stay with Murtaugh while Jamie and Claire make the quick trip to Lord Lovett's, and Claire's voiceover gives us a brief history of Lord Simon Fraser of Lovett, that in the past 50 years he had shown to be loyal to both crowns, sly as an old fox, which is why the episode's called The Fox's Lair. He had the quiet history in his personal life as well, and Jamie and Claire have arrived at Lord Lovett's and are shocked to be welcomed by Callum. Callum is back in this episode, we see, and I mean, we knew that we'd see faces like Callum and Dougal again, but it did feel a bit weird to just see him this early. We see he's there to discuss the response to the rebellion as well. Claire confronts Callum at the witch trial and the involvement that she presumed that he had had. He confirms that it was indeed the fault of Leary. Oh my god. I heard the name Leary. I was like, no, I don't want to hear her name. Look, I knew Leary would eventually come back into this story. When they said they were coming back to Scotland, I'm like, oh no, we gotta deal with Leary. But the bulk of this episode, a big part of this does deal with Leary. Why we brought Leary back, I don't know. But unfortunately, everyone's favorite character, Leary, is back in this episode, and she's not any less annoying, honestly. She's not any better. We see that she was punished and would have been thrown out of Castle Leoch if not for Mrs. Fitz, her grandmother, because we know that Claire pretty much banished her from what happened, and Callum informs Jamie that Dougal is not with him, and that was decided best that Dougal stay at his estate and not at Castle Leoch, and enter Lord Simon Fraser Lovett, who enters with the salts and insists that he would expect, given Jenny's reactions about him, and Jamie, of course, gives it right back to him. Claire's dismissed, and now we see Leary, who has been sent along with Callum to assist in his daily needs and cleaning. She finds Claire and attempts to apologize for her action that led to the witch trial in Cranesmere, because that really was all Leary's fault for that whole witch trial, and Claire's not having it. I love that Claire's not putting up with her shit. She doesn't accept that Leary has changed, because she really hasn't. Leary doesn't seem like she's changed at all. And Jamie's surprised that Claire even spoke to Leary in the conversation, and, the fact that she even said anything to her after what happened. But the conversation moves to dinner, where Claire will be allowed to attend as long as she just stays quiet and doesn't say anything. If she's quiet, then everything's fine. So dinner time, Jamie's holding court while young Simon Lovett is checking out Leary, who is helping pour wine. I just don't really care about Leary, I have to say. Here's my main thing with Leary. Every other character is so deep and so interesting, and Leary just is so one note. She likes Jamie. She doesn't want Claire to be with Jamie. That's really it. And she's annoying. She really is. I understand she's obviously there, but Leary to me has never felt like a full-on character. She's felt more like a plot device, and here she still feels like a plot device. I mean, it's clear that she's still, all she cares about is Jamie. She still wants to be with Jamie. She's attempting to smooth things over with Claire, but I think it's only to make it seem like, you know, if she smooths things over with Claire, she'll get closer to Jamie. I mean, everything really is still about Jamie, and it's really fucking annoying. I gotta say, I really don't like Leary. I really don't. I mean, I know you guys thought in the beginning I did, but after that episode last year, I do not like Leary. I'd rather see Galus than Leary any day, and we did not even hear about Galus in this episode. I'm sure we will eventually, but not yet. So Colm throws Jamie under the bus, asks questions about French support for the Jacobites, and gives all the men a laugh on the French behalf. Jamie continues on. Young Simon Lovett speaks up and puts his foot in his mouth, not thinking about his comment forming in his company. And Jamie informs Claire what Colm is doing and how he wants the Mackenzies to stay neutral in the fight and wants Lord Lovett to join in that neutrality, which would make the smaller clans follow as well and make the rebellion collapse. However, since Simon doesn't trust Colm's having to use Jamie as a pawn to get Simon on his side, because obviously they need to get people on their side. That's how they get Simon on their side. And Jamie realized that Jenny was correct and Lord Lovett wants something from him. Now, what it is, we don't know, but definitely he wants something. So Claire's walking down a hallway. She hears a skirmish between Lord Lovett and someone he is saying is hiding from him, something from him. A lady is thrown out in the hallway behind Claire. She goes to check on her. The woman says her name is Misery, and she's Lord Lovett's seer. So clearly there's something going on between these two, Misery and Lord Lovett, and Lord Lovett and Jamie are having a moment discussing Jamie's parents. By the way, let me just say, the other thing I don't like with this episode is that Murtaugh is not given as much to do. Now that the fact that they're back in Scotland, Murtaugh's barely given anything to do in this episode. Granted, he didn't have a lot to do last week, but last week was so focused on Claire, it made sense. Here, he had almost nothing to do, and it kind of pissed me off, because this season we've given him so much to do. He now knows Claire's secret. You think they give him more to do, and he had barely anything to do in this episode. So that kind of pissed me off that Murtaugh had nothing to do. It just felt like a hard transition that I just really wasn't ready for. So Lord Lovett and Jamie are having a moment discussing Jamie's parents, and when he goes to storm out, it comes up what Lord Lovett really wants out of this deal, because we know he wants something. Simon wants Jamie to yield fealty to him so he can claim the land that Lallybroch rests on. And this creates more tension in an already tense scene. Jamie gives the same pledge he gave Colm, and Simon says if he doesn't give Lallybroch, he will have many of his men take Claire's honor. Basically, he has to give him Lallybroch, that way he'll get him on his side. But obviously, Lallybroch is Jamie's home. He's not just going to let someone take it from him, but that's exactly what Simon wants to do, and Jamie goes straight to La Dame Blanche, telling his grandfather that she's a wise woman, a witch, and what would come to any man that would dare have their way with her. Because obviously we know that now La Dame Blanche is the White Witch, and it's not something that they need to fear anymore. So Jamie's back in the room with Claire. They're discussing the action that happened when he met with Simon. Jamie's considering giving over Lallybroch, and I like that Jamie actually considered this, because you really think, look, I have no other idea, I have no other options here. If I really want to create this army, I need to give over Lallybroch. And Claire comes up with the idea to go through young Simon and use Leary to give the boost to his confidence that he will need to go up against his father. So Claire requests the assistance from Leary out by the laundry. Leary gives some reluctance, but Claire says it would be for Jamie and his forgiveness, and obviously, because it's helping Jamie, Leary obviously agrees to it. And why she gets Leary involved, I don't really understand. I mean, I understand Claire's plan that Leary will give him confidence, but we already know that Jamie wants nothing to do with Leary, so why would Leary give him confidence? That, to me, just felt a bit out of place. I mean, everything with Leary, I just really felt like they just had her because they just want to create tension, I guess. Jamie's attempting to tell Colm that he knows the clans will fall if this rebellion doesn't have the resources needed to win, but Colm holds his own that he's using his history of the past upsprings to make his decision to stay neutral, and really doesn't want to get involved, you can tell. But obviously they need to get involved or else their plan's not going to work. So he requests that Jamie not make the bargain with Lord Lovett on Lallybroch, and Jamie promises to protect what they hold most dear, because obviously Lallybroch is their home. They're not just going to let some stranger take it. Even though Jamie is considering it, he's going to make sure it's in good hands, definitely. You can definitely tell that. So Claire and Master Lovett are walking, chatting. When she starts to put their plan in action, they happen upon Leary, and Claire leaves the two together. Claire goes to chapel, sees Maisry. Sorry if I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. Maysri. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Maisry, Maze, I don't really know. It's the seer lighting a candle. Maze has already heard that Claire is a white lady and surprised to see her in a chapel, and Claire talks to the seer and discusses her visions and how they work, and Mazare also tells Claire about what it is she saw about Lord Lotte that she isn't telling him, which was a vision of Lord Lotte being beheaded. So most likely this is going to happen to me. I'm pretty sure these visions mean that this stuff is going to happen. They're interrupted by Leary calling for Claire, who is scared Simon after flattering him and then showing him her breasts, and Claire, and I love that Claire is saying, look, this isn't about sex. It really does show, though, how kind of slutty Leary really is, because when she wants a man, she goes right to sex. I mean, she doesn't try to go on a romance, she goes right to sex, and that's another reason why I really like Leary. She's a very shallow character. She really just focuses on sex appeal and her body and things like that, and I just don't like her character. I'm sorry. She's just not working for me. She didn't work here either. So Claire finds Jamie in the stables with the horses. They both discuss their progress with Colum and young Simon. She tells Jamie of the seer's vision. Jamie decides he must give up Lord Lotte Lallybroch in order to secure the men, and basically he needs to he needs to give him Lallybroch. Basically, he has to do that. So Simon is called all to the signing of the neutrality pact with the Menzies, as well as a transfer of deed of Lallybroch from Jamie to himself. And Claire's very distraught with the idea of Jamie signing over the property, and gets the idea to convince Lord Lotte and everyone in the room that she's having the vision the seer told to her of the axe shadow over Lord Lotte. And this spooks the old man as he's going at it with his dirk. Young Master Lotte stands up to his father in front of Leary, which I thought was really cool. I definitely love that. He says that he's going to go support Jamie and that he's going to turn against his father. He's going to support Jamie on this. And obviously, it was a very good plan, because the way that Claire does this, she scares Lord Lotte into thinking, look, if there might be a way to change that. But the thing is, we don't know about these visions. Is there a way to change it? Does the vision actually happen? We don't really know. Lord Lotte signs a contract that he will stay with the Menzies and remain neutral in the war, and sends his son off. So basically, they are going to stay neutral. They're not going to get involved. So in the courtyard, Claire and Jamie are preparing to set off when Master Simon Lotte. They're approached by Colum, who says, go back to your home. He asks Claire if she cannot convenience him of reason. Jamie sees his uncle into his carriage. Before they take Claire off, Claire asks Jamie to thank Leary. Even though he's very reluctant and doesn't know the reasoning, he does indeed go thank her uncomfortably, even though he doesn't really know why he's thanking her. He does go to thank her. She replies that she hopes one day she can also get his forgiveness and his love. And I'm just like, oh, I don't fucking care, Leary. Like, just move on. Seriously. Okay, if there's anything that this will make bits better, if Leary moves on, I will be very happy, because Leary just needs to move on. I'm sorry, he's married. He's not going to get with you. It's not, sorry, I know you want it, Leary. I know you do, but he does not want to smash. It's that simple. He does not want to smash. You need to understand that. He does not want you. He is with Claire. He does not want you, okay? It's really fucking annoying, honestly. I mean, it's so redundant, and I get it that that's Leary's character, that she's so persistent, but it's just not going anywhere, and it's really annoying. And I get that that's the point, but it's really dumb, honestly, because everything else is so well developed and everyone else is so complex and things like that. This is just dumb. I really did not like this stuff with Leary here. So Jamie, Claire, Master Simon are on the trail to meet with Murtaugh and the Lallybroch men. When they see Lord Lotte's men on the ridge, obviously Murtaugh wasn't there, mainly because of the fact that he was with the Lallybroch men. Lotte is with them and has again been the sly fox he's known to be. He is sending his heir to fight, so the stewards will see it as support for the cause. However, if they fall, he has the signed neutrality pact with the Menzies, showing that he himself wasn't involved at all. So basically, if something bad happens, he can't blame himself for it. It was all his son's idea of support, and was therefore not a traitor to the crown and King George. Which I do think that's a good way to do it. If something bad happens, he's like, you know what, guys, I had nothing to do with this. This was all the neutrality pact. This had nothing to do with me. This was all Jamie that did this. And they close out the episode with the men marching, flags flying, Claire telling it. Now, it kind of reminded me of the episode Rent, if you remember the way that episode ended, with that whole with them coming across the English. That was really cool. But Claire tells them that maybe they can change the future. Maybe they already had. That's the way the episode ends. Overall, guys, okay, a good episode. I didn't hate this episode. I thought this was a good episode overall. There were some really great scenes here. I just didn't like the overabundance and use of Leary. Why did Leary have to get involved here? I'm not really sure. I mean, you could have used Jenny. I understand, obviously, that the plan was for Leary to help out Jamie, because she knew that she'd easily sway her because of Jamie, but I just thought it was kind of dumb. I'm sorry. I really thought it was dumb. I don't like Leary. If you guys haven't been able to tell, I'm not a fan of Leary, and I'm not gonna be. It's that simple. You can't get me to like someone that I don't like. I don't like Leary. I don't find her interesting. I find her really one note, and I find her really fucking annoying. I mean, her flashing her tits to some guy, obviously that's gonna startle them. I mean, he has no interest in her. That's clearly gonna startle them. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? What are you doing? I don't understand what you're doing, Leary. But other than that, guys, I really did enjoy this episode. I like seeing Jenny again. I like seeing Ian again. It's cool that Fergus is with them, because obviously Fergus, after what happened to him, he's obviously haunted. He can't really go back to France either. But you do know that France is eventually going to get there. All the characters we met, like, for example, Mary and, what's her name? Now I can't think of her name. The one that was really nice to Claire, that was her friend. I can't think of her name right now. You guys know who I'm talking about. What the fuck was her name? Let me look, because I know who I'm talking about. Just can't think of her name right now. Sorry. What was her name? I can't think of her name right now. I'm blanking on it, but we know we're going to see them again. They're definitely going to meet, and I'm looking forward to seeing those two meeting. The France crew, along with the people we know from Scotland. I'm looking forward to seeing those two meet up, because they are eventually going to create a much bigger army, and you definitely see that's going to happen. Jamie's going to get some people here, he's going to get some people there, and the way he's going to be able to get them as one big army and eventually, you know, defeat, save the Jacobites, I think is going to be very interesting to see how that's going to work out. We know, of course, that doesn't really work, though. We know that the battle collide, and we know what's going to happen, but I do like that Claire has this confidence that this is going to work. It's sad to see, because we know things aren't going to end out well, but I like that this episode is kind of giving us that hope that maybe things will go well, maybe they'll be able to turn things around. I definitely did like seeing that. I love the scene, like I said, with Claire, with Jamie holding that baby, and what could have happened, and that they could have had this baby on their own. Now, obviously, they didn't have a baby, but they could have had a baby and everything, and I thought that was a really nice scene. Of course, we know that Claire is eventually going to have Brianna, who that was confirmed to be Brianna last week. I did hear that was confirmed to be Brianna, which is I really did like seeing. As far as Murtaugh goes, I hope they give him more to do, because this episode we didn't have more to do. I don't want this. My worry is that, here's the thing, we didn't have most of the Scotland crew, obviously, in France. We only had Murtaugh. That gave Murtaugh more to do. Now that we have people like Colum and Dougal and Leary back, I feel like we're not going to see, and Jenny and Ian as well, I feel like we're not going to see Murtaugh as much, and that's something I don't like. Murtaugh's added so much great stuff to this season. He's become such a big part of this season. He's, you know, he's funny. He's his own character. I really am loving everything we're getting with Murtaugh, and I don't want them to not do stuff with him. And I'm worried because of all this stuff that we're doing now in Scotland, now we're not going to see Murtaugh as much. And I'm not saying this has completely killed the season, because I do think there's good stuff going on here. This episode for me was just kind of slow. It was slow. I wasn't too into it. I mean, most of it revolved around getting Jamie's name off a list, which I understand, obviously, you know, he could be hanged for it. I totally get that. But me personally, I just really wasn't as into it as I was with last week's or other weeks before. I feel like there have been much more interesting episodes, especially with Leary. I just didn't really care what was going on with Leary. But I do like that everyone's kind of going in their own directions, that everyone's kind of splitting up. I mean, we knew that was going to happen. Obviously, Jamie and Claire being together, but right now everyone's kind of splitting up. I do like the way that's going. I like seeing Calm again. That was really cool to see. It sounds like we're not going to see Dougal as much, just from what we heard here, that we're not going to see Dougal as much as we think, and I definitely really did like that. Leary, again, just not a fan of her. That's really my thing here. I'm not really a fan of Leary. I don't like what we're doing with her. I'm hoping we hear about Galus. I did hear that something happens with Galus, I guess, in the 60s, because we know that Galus is from the 60s, so there's that as well. So I think that's going to be very interesting, what's going on with Galus. I don't really know what's going to happen there. You know, if we do see Galus again, I'm hoping we do. I don't know if we're going to see her. Maybe we'll see her next season. I don't really know. I don't really know what happened with her. But overall, guys, I thought this was an okay episode. I thought this was a good episode, not a great episode. Definitely not as great as some of the other weeks, and definitely not as great as any of the season. Probably my least favorite episode of this season. For me, at least, this episode just wasn't as strong as the first 7 episodes we've gotten. I'm sure the show's going to get better. This episode was just kind of slow. Wasn't as into it. Didn't like it as much as other weeks. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. If your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Bloodline, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.